Good evening. I'm Chanel Vehicle Title Expert. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I thank you in advance for subscribing. So, on tonight, I will continue with the series Title and Registration for Truckers. In tonight's segment, I will talk about intrastate authority and for hire registration. I will cover three key points that's going to be determining your operating authority type, the classifications of intrastate authority, and the registration restrictions that comes with intrastate authority. Okay, so basically, if you missed it, I did share in a prior segment of what interstate and intrastate authority is. So interstate authority basically is hauling commerce amongst multiple states across state lines. Okay, intrastate authority is hauling locally or within your state only. Okay, now there is an exception and some things you can do, to kind of like have that leeway, which I would share under the restrictions. Okay, but for the most part, intrastate is going to be local or within your state. All right. With that being said, you want to determine your operating authority type. So the question you will want to ask yourself is, do you need intrastate authority? Okay, do you need intrastate authority? As an example, if you are someone that will mainly be hauling containers, at the port, then and you plan on not doing anything else, then yes, you will need intrastate authority, and that's going to be a very basic example. If you're doing containers, and that's all you will be hauling, then yes, intrastate authority. Now, sometimes at the ports, they do have certain exemptions that are in place if you are hauling containers. So you are advised to reach out to your local DOT or DMV office for guidance as it pertains to hauling containers. Also, to determine your authority type, if you need intrastate authority or not, you would just decide, what are you hauling and the distance and things of that nature. Also, weight could be a factor as well. Also, special insurance does apply when it comes to intrastate authority. So, if in doubt, please reach out to your DOT or DMV office. All right. The second point, intrastate classifications. Okay, are you going to be a property carrier or a household property carrier? Or actually, let me back up, a standard property carrier. Okay, which could basically be a variety of property items that you could be hauling. When it comes to household goods, they do have special restrictions and guidelines that fall specifically for household items. So you really want to look at what you're hauling and be very sure about that as it pertains to your guidelines in your locality, so that you can be in compliance and not, have any type of penalties down the road. And lastly, when it comes to the registration restrictions, you will be receiving a for hire plate in your base state. Okay, so I did share that intrastate is going to be for local or in-state hauling. However, you may come across a particular job or load as a trucker, and you may decide to go into a particular state or states. And with that being said, you will be required to get, trip permits. Okay, you'll be required to get a IRP trip permit and a fuel trip permit for every state that you will be going through. So you will keep your for hire plate from your base state, but you will also have the trip and fuel permits in question based on those states that you're going through. So that is the restriction with the for hire plate. You have your base plate, which is local, but unfortunately, you will have to get the trip permits to tie into those states that you will be going through. Okay. Now, keep in mind, trip permits are very costly, very costly, and they are only for a short period of time. Some trip permits can be for 3 days, some can be for 7, and some can be for 10. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. Again, if you are sure of what you are hauling and it's going to be localized, then intrastate is going to be for you. But if you are somebody that you have a concern of flexibility, maybe you want more variety with your loads, and you might decide to expand and do regional work or OTR, then of course the IRP plate or a portion plate that I mentioned in my other segment 2 days ago, that would be your best bet. So really decide, try to look down the road of what you think you would be hauling when it comes to your trucking needs. Okay, just keep that in mind. If you feel like you're doing interstate and the trip permits are becoming costly and you are seeing yourself doing more interstate versus in-state hauling, then of course it's not going to be to your benefit financially. I mean, you can always change. You can always, leave the intrastate for higher plate and switch it up to, your IRP or portion or vice versa. But I'm just being transparent. I just want you guys to, really think about your hauling needs now, and possibly, where you plan on being in a couple months, or long term, so you can give yourself more leverage. If you have any questions pertaining to intrastate operating authority or for higher plates and registration, feel free to drop me a line or check me out on wisdomandauthority.com. Thank you so much for stopping by tonight and hearing this segment. Please check me out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please click, share, and subscribe. I hope to hear from you soon.